beloved Bhagwan. How is it that all the past Buddhas expressed themselves against money and sex, which are the sources of worldly pleasures? You are perhaps the first Buddha to stand by all of them together, pleasure, happiness, and bliss, which is causing so much misunderstanding and opposition in your case. Did the past Buddhas try to compromise with tradition and to play for safety?
Anand Maitreya there are many things to be understood. One, all the past Buddhas came from the royal families. They have enjoyed money, they have enjoyed sex, they have lived in the most luxurious way possible. And still they found a deep emptiness inside themselves. They made their own experience as if it is a fundamental principle for all human beings. All human beings are not born in royal families. They don't have the chance of experiencing money, sex, and other pleasures of the outside world. Because they were frustrated, the money was not fulfilling, the sex was superficial, all the pleasures were repetitive and became routine. They were utterly bored. They renounced the world. Because of their renunciation of the world and going into the forest and the mountains, a fallacy arose that perhaps unless you renounce the world and worldly pleasures, you cannot become awakened, you cannot become enlightened. Their individual experience they made it into an universal principle. It is a human tendency. It still persists. For example, only psychologically sick people went to Sigmund Freud. Obviously, who is healthy mentally has no need to go to Sigmund Freud. He came across only the sick people. and he spread the principle to whole humanity, as if everybody is sick. He knew only the dreams of the sick people, and he thought all dreams are repressive. In his experience, that was so. But his experience is not universal. It happens with you too. A very basic human fallacy. You come across a Mohammedan and he cheats you, or a Hindu and he deceives you, and immediately you jump to the conclusion that no Hindu is worth believing, that no Mohammedan should ever be trusted. A single instance becomes to you indicative of the universal. In fact, all the past Buddhas support my thesis. Of course, they were not aware of it. What I am saying is, unless you are deeply acquainted with the outer world, unless you have been a Zorba in totality and intensity, there is no possibility for you to become a Buddha. It was fortunate for Gautam Buddha to be born as a prince. All the beautiful women of his kingdom were made available to him, and the most beautiful woman he married. But just when he was 29 years old, he became so frustrated he was intelligent enough to see that now my whole life is going to be just a routine. More women, more wine, more delicious food, but I am acquainted with it all. It is his intelligence to see that all his tomorrows have already become yesterdays. There is no future, and he is utterly empty. He has to go in search of something which fulfills his inner being. My thesis is very simple and supported by all the awakened people of the past. Mahavira and all the 24 great masters of Jainism were born in royal families. One never asks, why all your 24 masters were born in the richest and the most luxurious atmosphere. Why not a beggar became a Buddha? And why not a man who was starving became a Buddha? All the Hindu incarnations of God belong to the royal families. And Buddha himself not a single poor man has been accepted by Hindus or Jainas or Buddhists as enlightened. This supports my thesis. I have been saying to you that because Gautam Buddha renounced the world, first you have to live the world to be capable of renouncing it. How can you renounce something which you don't have? You have to be so frustrated, so nauseated with the outside pleasures that they become almost pain, anxiety, and anguish. Only then you can turn inwards. But all these Buddhas of the past had fallen to the human fallacy. They spread their own experience. They thought perhaps a starving person, a person who has never known any pleasure in his life, will also understand them. And the result has been a tremendous calamity. The poor in the East have remained poor, thinking that what is the point of achieving wealth? What is the point of attaining to luxury? Because they have seen all those great enlightened people renouncing luxury. So perhaps they are in a better position. Already they are poor. Buddha became a beggar by renouncing his kingdom. But do you think he is the same kind of beggar, can be put in the same category in which any other beggar who has never known anything of delicious food, of a beautiful woman, of a palace, of all the joys that are possible? On the surface, they both will look like the same. Both are having the begging bowl. But they are not the same. They belong to totally different categories. I would like you to belong to the category of the Buddha. But first he was a Zorba, and only then he became a Buddha. And the other has never been the experiencer of outside reality. He can only repress his sex. He is not frustrated with it. Buddha has no need to repress. He has lived it, overlived it. Otherwise, in 29 years, one does not renounce the world. The story is that when he was born, all the astrologers of his kingdom was called because he was the only son and he was born in the old age of the king. And he wanted exactly what his life is going to be. And all the astrologers were puzzled. And nobody was ready to say something. The king was very much in difficulty that why don't you say something? Even if it is a bad news, at least don't keep me into confusion. Say it. Then the youngest of them spoke. He said the problem they all are facing is that he has not a fixed destiny. There is an alternative destiny, and that is a very rare case we have never come across. And it is expected that we should say to you what is going to happen to him. But he has an alternative destiny, two destinies. Either he will become a world conqueror, a Chakravartin, or he will become a renouncer of the world. And there are extreme polarities. And we have not been able to find which one is weightier. Both are of equal weight. So we cannot say anything definitively. All that we can say that these are the two alternatives. Either he will become the greatest emperor the world has known, or he will become one of the greatest enlightened person the world has known. In any case, he will be one of the greatest persons. But whether he will be a beggar or an emperor, it is beyond our understanding and our science. The king was also puzzled. He was his only son. He has been conquering new lands. He has made a very big kingdom, and the only successor has an alternative destiny. He asked the astrologers, help me, advise me, what should be done so that he never renounces the world and conquers the world. That has been my dream whole life. He is going to be a fulfillment of my dream. He is my child. He has brought my dream in his heart. Just tell me how to prevent him from renouncing the world. And the ordinary logic they all suggested. The ordinary logic destroyed the whole thing. They said that surround him with as much luxury and comfort as possible, so he never feels the miseries of life. Gather around him the most beautiful girls, so he never feels any sexual deprivation. Make beautiful palaces for him in different places of your kingdom for different seasons, so that he never feels that it is too much hot or too much cold or too much rain. They went into every detail how his life should be guided. Even dead leaves should be removed in the night from his gardens. He should never see a dead leaf, because one never knows. He may start asking what has happened to the leaf. He should never see a leaf which is becoming pale, old, ready to die. In the night, all the flowers which are going to die soon should be removed. No old man, old woman should be allowed to enter into his palaces. And whenever he passes from the roads, arrangements should be made that he never comes across a dead body or across a sannyasi. And all these preparations were done. And the old king managed everything that the astrologer has said. But the ordinary logic is not the only logic. There is a transcendental logic which they were not aware of. I would not have suggested this. I would have told him, let him live like an ordinary human being. Let him strive for comfort, don't give it to him. Let him strive to find a beautiful woman, don't just gather women like cattle around him. Let him know the pains of desire and longing and passion. Perhaps he would have never renounced the world, because he would have never come to know the world in its reality so soon. Those 29 years were almost equal perhaps to 200 or 300 years. Even in 300 years, you may not be able to attain all that luxury that was showered on him. And that was the cause that he renounced the world, seeing that it is all superficial and routine. seeing one dead man, and in 29 years he has not seen even a dead leaf. If he has seen from his very childhood that people die, he would have become accustomed. But for 29 years, he has never thought about death. The very idea was not a question to him. But how long you can prevent? One day he came to see a dead man, and the whole palace of playing cards that his father has made collapsed. He asked his charioteers, "What has happened to this man?" He said, "Masters, I am not supposed to tell you, but I cannot lie you either. This man is dead." And immediately the question was asked, which ordinarily you don't ask. Immediately he asked, "Is this the destiny of every man? Am I also going to die one day?" And just when the charioteer was saying, "There is no way to avoid death, even to you, it will happen," a sannyasin passed by. And he has never seen an orange-robed sannyasi. And he asked, "What type of man is this? What has happened to him?" And the charioteer said, "He has also become aware of death, old age, and he has renounced the world. He is going in search of that which never dies." They were going to participate in a youth festival. Gautam Buddha said to his charioteer, "Turn the charioteer back. For me, now there is no youth festival. I am old, I am dead. Just take me back home." And that very night he escaped from the kingdom. The charioteer was an old man, a very faithful servant of the king. He tried to persuade him. He said, "There is no way. If you cannot prevent old age, don't try to persuade me. If you cannot prevent death, don't try to persuade me. I am going in search of that which never dies." So it is a double fallacy. Buddha renounced and he found the truth. And he also must have thought that it is because of renunciation that he has found the truth. That is not the case. It is because of his luxurious life that the search began. Because luxury has failed, money has deceived, palaces became empty, kingdom became meaningless, conquering the whole became pointless. If you are going to die, what is the point of bothering, killing millions of people, and in the end, your hands are empty. So he himself thought that renouncing the kingdom has been helpful in finding the truth. But he forgot one thing, that everybody does not have a kingdom. And his fallacy became an universal fallacy. Others who don't have kingdoms, they started moving into mountains, into forests, into isolation. I know a man who was a retired postmaster. He was a little cuckoo. So he never managed to get married. His parents tried very much, but because he was a cuckoo, he will do something to spoil the whole thing. He was trying to hide his craziness, and in that very hiding, something will erupt and something will go wrong. When he retired from his post office, he became a Jaina monk. And I knew exactly in his post office account, he had 360 rupees. Had never married, had never known anything you can say comfortable. Luxury is a far away star. Could not even afford a servant. He used to cook his own food. After his renunciation, 7 or 8 years he passed in different monasteries with different Jaina monks, and then in Calcutta, just by accident, we met again. And the people who introduced him to me said that he has renounced everything that he had. I said, I know. He lived in a rented house. He cooked his own foods. And he had 360 rupees in his post office account, which are still in the post office account in his name. He has not renounced anything, not even that post office account. He was very angry. And when we were left alone, he said, "This is not good of you. People think I have renounced everything. And you told them that I have not renounced anything. This is true, that those 360 rupees I have kept in my name in case of sickness, in old age." But you destroyed my reputation. They all had great honor for me. A poor man can become respectable by becoming a beggar in the name of religion, but he will never become enlightened. Hence, my emphasis is, before you enter into the inner world, be finished with the outer. Live it so totally your life torch should burn from both the ends together. The more totally you live, the quicker you will understand that there is not much. It is only the unlived part of life which seems to be attractive. If you have lived totally, then nothing seems to be attractive. And only in that state you can move inwards without hesitation and without any split. And I am not saying renounce the outside. There is no need. Renunciation is out of fear. And naturally, 25 centuries have passed since Gautam Buddha. In these 25 centuries, not only scientific technology has progressed, spiritual consciousness and the methods that can lead you to enlightenment have also been defined. Gautam Buddha is, after all, a bullock cart Gautam Buddha. He knows nothing about Rolls Royces. I would like my people to live at ease, all that is available on the outside. Don't be in a hurry, because anything left unlived will pull you back again. Finish it. And then there is no need to escape from your house or from your bank account, because they are no more a burden on you. They don't mean anything. Perhaps they have a certain utility. But nothing is wrong about them. Even a Gautam Buddha needs food. Somebody else earns it. So what is the point? You earn your own food. He needs clothes. Somebody else earns it. It is better to earn your own clothes, your own shelter. There is nothing that binds you. What binds you is the lust for the unlived life. So live life totally and let this lust disappear. Then you can live in the palace with the same ease as you can live in a poor man's hut. But if a palace is available, then why unnecessarily torture yourself in a poor man's hut? Just the palace should not be your prison. And because all these great enlightened people consistently renounce the world, it created an atmosphere in the whole East that poverty is something spiritual. It is sheer nonsense. Poverty is not spiritual. It is ugly. It is one of the wounds that has to be healed. If poverty was spiritual, then there would have been millions of Gautam Buddhas in the East. But we have never heard about beggars becoming Buddhas. My approach is a discontinuity with the past. I teach you first to live as a Zorba, and only on that foundation will be raised the temple of your Buddhahood. And in this way we are joining the outer and the inner in a single unity. The outer is also yours as much as the inner. There is no question of denying anything. There is no question of being against anything. So I say to you, pleasure may be the lowest step, but it is part of the same ladder. The highest step may be enlightenment, may be blissfulness. But it is the same ladder. And if you renounce the first rung of the ladder, you will never reach to the last rung. Just think you are standing on the first rung of the ladder. There are two ways of renouncing it. One is getting down, the other is moving to the second. Both have renounced the first ladder. Gautam Buddha moves to the second, and you are moving below the first. You see that he has left the first rung, but you have not understood that he has left the first rung for the second, and he will leave the second rung for the third, and he will go on leaving the third and the fourth for the final. But you have become afraid of the first because you have seen Buddhas leaving the first. So you never step on the first. You remain below the first. These people have reached to the highest fulfillment of bliss, and you remain hungry, thirsty, even for the shallowest pleasures that the first rung can make available to you. And secondly, the Buddhas of the past were not concerned with any social revolution. Their whole concern was with their own achievements, with their own spiritual attainment. In a certain way, they are very self-centered. And because of their self-centeredness, East has not known any revolution at all. Because all the geniuses became so self-centered, who was going to give to the masses the idea of a revolution? At the most, they can teach charity to the poor. But they cannot conceive a world without poverty. I conceive a world without poverty, without classes, without nations, without religions, without any kind of discrimination. I conceive a world which is one, a humanity which is one, a humanity which shares everything, outer and inner, a deep spiritual brotherhood. So my function is not simply finished with my own enlightenment. In fact, my work begins after my enlightenment. Gautam Buddha's work comes to an end when he becomes enlightened. I have started my work after my enlightenment. As far as I'm concerned, I don't need to live a single moment more, because life, either outer or inner, cannot give me anything more than I have already achieved. But to me, it seems to be selfish. I would like millions of people to be aflame with the same light, with the same vision, with the same dream. I would like a new man to be born, a new humanity, where ugly discriminations disappear, where there is no wars, no atomic or nuclear weapons, no nations, no races, where man can share all the bounties of existence and all the experiences of one's inner being. I want this whole humanity to be one ocean of consciousness. Whatever the Buddhas in the past did was good, but not enough. They created for themselves the highest peak of consciousness. I would like to create that highest peak for everyone, at least for those who are in search of it. And I cannot say renounce the outer, because the outer is as essential as the inner. Just don't cling to it. How can you renounce the outer? You can renounce the palace, but how you are going to renounce your breathing? Each moment the outer breath comes in. How can you renounce food? It comes from the outside. How can you renounce water? It comes from the outside. Looked with clarity, there is no division between the outer and the inner, but a constant harmony. Just like the incoming breath and outgoing breath. I am giving you a new conception, a new vision, a new dream. Naturally, Maitreya, those who are clinging with the old Buddhas are going to be against me. Because their whole point is that the world is a sin and it has to be renounced. Pleasure is sin and it has to be renounced. Even simple pleasures like drinking a cup of tea is sin. In Mahatma Gandhi's ashram, people used to drink tea hiding. And once in a while somebody was caught and he was so condemned that Mahatma Gandhi will go on a fast. This is a special way of torturing people. And the whole ashram will torture the person that because you drank tea, Mahatma Gandhi has gone for a fast unto death. And he will never say that it is punishment for you. He will say it is a punishment for myself. Because it shows that my soul is not pure enough. That's why my disciples go on committing such sins. He has his own logic. He does not give you even the freedom of being yourself. It is his purity which is going to be decisive. And he is fasting to purify his soul. He is not concerned with you. When his soul is purified, then naturally no disciple can commit any sin. Stupid logic. Because if this was the case, then just a single Buddha who is absolutely pure will purify the whole humanity. Why only one ashram? Then anywhere on the earth, if somebody is drinking tea, that means your soul is still not absolutely pure. And it is not only tea, there are so many sins. Chocolate, ice cream, all are prohibited. In fact, taste itself is prohibited. You should eat your food without any taste. The best cooks are those in Mahatma Gandhi's ashram which make such food that you cannot eat. So tasteless that you will feel like throwing up. But that is spirituality. Naturally, these people are going to be against me. I accept their irritation, their annoyance, because I know future belongs to me. They are on a losing battle. They may have the majority, but it is a majority which has lost its roots, which is dead, which lives only on the past, and a very ugly past. Just yesterday I received a news from Palestine. Because of Israel, many people who are not Jews left Israel. Israel is a new creation after the Second World War. It is a new nation. forced by the American politicians and the British politicians on the poor Mohammedans who used to live there, to give to Jews their country, which they have lost long before. There was no need. Jews were living happily everywhere else. What is the need of having a nation? In fact, they were free from all national problems and difficulties and defense and armies. They were perfectly happy. But to create a permanent trouble for them, Israel was forced. It used to be Palestine. Now only a small part of Palestine has remained, and the Mohammedans have escaped to that small part. They are refugees. Just yesterday they asked the Palestinian government that we should be allowed to eat human flesh because we don't have anything else to eat. Because there are so many terrorists killing people, so many bombs exploding and people are dying. Why waste their bodies? Just give their dead bodies to us because we don't have anything to eat. And today, the Palestinian government has agreed that all dead bodies from now on will be given to the refugees. This is 20th century, when man has to eat other men. On the one hand, such unbelievable phenomenon, and on the other hand, billions of dollars worth food and foodstuff is being thrown in the ocean in America, in Europe, because it is overproduction. And they don't want to lower the price. So the overproduction has to be drowned into the ocean. Are we living in a madhouse? Just few days before, so much butter has to be drowned into the ocean, mountains of butter, that the cost of throwing it into the ocean was $2 billion. It is not the cost of the butter. It is simply the cost of carrying the butter to the ocean. And just nearby, people are asking that we should be allowed to eat dead bodies, human bodies. And the government has no other way, because nobody is willing to give Palestine food. And their land has been taken away to create a new land, Israel. We are still living in a barbarous age, it seems. Human consciousness needs to be transformed totally. My concern is not only with individual enlightenment. My concern is with a collective uprising of human consciousness. Many will be enlightened, but let others also be very close to it. Not that one becomes a Gautam Buddha and another goes to eat a dead body. This much difference is unbearable, intolerable. At least I would like my people to fight for it, for their own enlightenment and for a uprising of the whole humanity. Simple things which don't need much intelligence. You can see it, anybody can see it, that this is nonsense. When people are starving, when 1,000 persons were dying every day in Ethiopia, America was drowning its food in the ocean. Europe was drowning its food in the ocean. With the same price, with the same cost, it could have been carried to Ethiopia. And thousands of people would have been saved. But it seems we are not alert at all. Just now there are only 5 countries which have nuclear weapons. And just the other day I received the information that by the year 2010, 25 other countries will become nuclear powers, India and Pakistan included, because they are all striving hard for only one thing, to become nuclear powers. It is so costly, but even poor countries like India and Pakistan are not worried about their poverty, are not worried that half of their countries are going to die. Their whole concern is how to make nuclear weapons, how to be in the nuclear club, a member. There are only 5 right now. 25 more countries are going to join soon. 30 countries having nuclear power is a very dangerous and vulnerable situation, because these nuclear weapons will be in the hands of pygmy politicians. And the politician is always in search of becoming the greatest man in the world. Every politician, that is his whole desire. Adolf Hitler, in his autobiography, says that if you want to become a great leader of humanity, then without war you cannot become. Have you ever heard of any great people who were born in times of peace? In times of peace, nobody needs their leadership. When you are troubled, in danger, you need leaders. Great wars create great leaders. And there are sick people all around who want to become great leaders, even at the cost of whole humanity. So my function is very much different than the function of Gautam Buddha. His function is only a small part of my philosophy. I want individuals to become enlightened, but I want also the whole humanity to rise with the enlightened people. They may not become enlightened, but at least conscious enough so that nations disappear, religions disappear, races disappear, and we can live as one humanity, as one earth. It is not difficult, a little understanding. And if the earth is one, then there is no need of any nuclear weapons, no war, no army. All these people, millions of people around the world are in the armies, in the navy, in the air force, wasting their life. They could be put to production. But that is possible only when nations disappear. And Maitreya, this too is true, that in the past, the Buddhas, the enlightened people, because they were concerned with their own enlightenment, never bothered to say anything against the traditional mind. It was none of their business. Even many so-called saints have told me that you are unnecessarily creating so many enemies all over the world. If you simply talk about meditation and enlightenment, nobody will be against you. But I don't see that thousands of years of talking about meditation and enlightenment have helped much. So I am ready to take all risks because I have nothing to lose. Whatever I have gained is going to be with me even if I am crucified. And I would love if my crucifixion can raise human consciousness just a little bit more.
Beloved Bhagwan, since a few months I am your sannyasin after a long search for a master. Now I am afraid you might die, and I cannot fulfill the meaning of my life without your presence.
Praying Felix, you are still too much concerned with your own ego. You are not worried about my death. You are worried about your enlightenment. What will happen to your enlightenment? You are not aware that this is not love. This is not trust. You are trying to use me. And love never tries to use. You have not yet found the master. You have simply believed because so many people you find here in such deep love and in such deep ecstasy. You have believed in them that perhaps here is a master. But it is a perhaps. If you have really found your master, you will forget all about your enlightenment. In finding the master, you have already found the path. In finding the master, you have already found someone who is going to be with you even after death. That's what is the meaning of being with a master. One sannyasin has sent a small Sufi story from America. She was puzzled by the story. She wants to know its meaning. It will help Felix also. The story is, one man is drowning and is shouting for help. One hand reaches to him. It is dark in the night, so he cannot see whose hand it is. He asks, "Who are you?" And the man says, "A friend." But the man who is drowning says, "No, I don't want to be saved by a friend." It is a very strange story. Again he starts shouting, "Help, save me." And the same hand again reaches to him and he asks the same question, "Whose hand is it?" And the answer comes, I am God. And the man said, I don't want to be saved by a God. And third time when he shouts, the same hand reaches again, and he asks the same question, please tell me, who are you? And the answer comes, I am a master. And he said, then it is perfectly okay. I can trust you. The story is strange. He cannot even trust God, but he can trust the master. It has great implications. To be saved by a friend is not possible in the spiritual sense, because the friend is drowning himself. He is in the same boat. He is not of a higher consciousness. How can he save? It is not a question of ordinary saving. Somebody is drowning and you can save. It is a parable. A friend is of the same consciousness. He cannot save. But God, and the drowning man denies even to be saved by God, because God has no hands, no face, no body. God is a consciousness. How consciousness can hold his hands? God is not a person, but only a presence. Not a flower, but only a fragrance. How a fragrance can save him? You can enjoy the fragrance when you are saved, but fragrance cannot save you. You can enjoy God as a presence when you are saved, but the presence itself cannot save you. But the moment the Sufi master says, I am a master, immediately the man grabs his hand and he says, this is the right hand. Only a master can save me. Because a master is both. He is a man and he is a God. And of course, he is a friend too. A master is all three rolled into one. He is a friend, but not only a friend. He is a God, but not only a God. In him, God has become embodied. In him, love has reached to its highest peak. He can be a savior. The story is certainly strange and may baffle anybody. If you have found Felix the master, then don't be worried of the death of the Master. The Master never dies. If you have love, your Master will live in your love forever. And drop this lust for enlightenment, because that is the barrier. Only people who drop the desire for enlightenment ever become enlightened. And why you should be worried about the future? I am alive. Rather than being saved by me right now, are you asking an appointment in future? Finding the Master, in a subtle sense, is finding your enlightenment. Because the very presence of the Master thrills your whole being, gives you a new freshness, a new breeze passes through you, taking with it all the dust that you have gathered down the centuries. In fact, there are stories of great disciples like Mahakashyapa, who said to Gautam Buddha, that only on one condition, I can become your disciple. Buddha said, what condition? And Mahakashyapa said, you have to protect me from enlightenment. Because once I am enlightened, I will lose the Master. Because I will not be any more a disciple. And at no cost I want to lose you. I can forget all about enlightenment. You are my enlightenment. Buddha laughed and said, Mahakashyapa, you don't know. That in this very clear understanding and love, you are giving the indication to me that you will be my first disciple to become enlightened. And Mahakashyapa was his first disciple to become enlightened. He was very angry. And for a few days he won't even speak to Buddha. Whenever Buddha will pass by his side, he will close his eyes. Finally, Buddha said, now, forget whatever happens, happens. And I am not saying to you to leave me or to go away, to spread my message. I will not take any note of your enlightenment. You can remain my disciple. And there were tears of joy in Mahakashyapa's eyes, and he fell into the feet of Gautam Buddha. He said, that's what I was afraid, that perhaps now you won't allow me to touch your feet. And I had warned you before. But neither we listen to you nor you listen to us. Buddha said, it is not in my hands to make you enlightened or to prevent you from becoming enlightened. You came with such clarity that I was worried that you are going to become enlightened very soon. A man who can desire enlightenment and can use the masters only as a means does not understand love and does not understand disciplehood. A master cannot be used. You can simply try to dissolve into his being as deeply as possible. One day, without any warning, comes enlightenment. Suddenly. It is not a gradual process. It does not come in installments. It suddenly comes and you are gone. Only a pure presence remains. So don't be worried about my death. While I am alive, use these moments to dissolve yourself. And if you can use these moments to dissolve yourself and forget enlightenment, otherwise that will remain a continuous hindrance. You just enjoy being here, dance and sing. What are you going to do with enlightenment? You cannot eat it. You cannot drink it. It is absolutely useless. So just hope that it does not come too soon.
Beloved Bhagwan, the saying goes, close your eyes, look inside, and see the beauty. But I love to keep my eyes open. I love to see the people, the places, the things, the lakes, the mountains, the rivers, the streams, the animals and the birds. But most of all, I love to see you, Bhagwan. Is it possible to go inside and see the beauty with open eyes?
Anand Bimal. There is no harm in keeping your eyes open. Love as intensely as possible the mountains, the moon, the sun, the trees. Love everything the existence consists of. And you want to keep your eyes open because you love to see me too. Nothing is wrong in it. But I had to remind you that there is a far more beautiful land, far more beautiful stars, far more beautiful trees within you, which you cannot see with open eyes. And as far as I am concerned, with open eyes you can see only my body. With closed eyes you will be able to see my being too, which is the very essence of godliness. So there is no need to have a fixation. And that is the beauty of the eyes. Perhaps you have never thought about it. Your ears are continuously open. Your eyes are naturally made in such a way that you can close them, you can open them, you can close them, you can open them. So whenever you want to see the trees and the beauty of a sunset, open your eyes. And it is good exercise too. And when you want to see the beauty of the inner world, close your eyes. You are not renouncing the outside world. You are simply making the inside and outside both available to you. And when you can have both, why you should have only one? And the inner is qualitatively and tremendously superior. In fact, whatever beauty you find in the outside is just as if you have seen a moon reflected in a lake. The outside is only reflection. The inside is the real, the existence. There are people who are against looking out. There are religions who are against looking out. In Jainism, there are two sects. One sect believes that Mahavira, their great master, used to meditate with closed eyes. And there is another sect which believes that he used to meditate with open eyes. This is the only difference between them. And on this point, they have been fighting and arguing for 25 centuries. I was passing from a small place, Devas, and I saw a Jaina temple with 3 big locks on it. So I told my chauffeur to stop the car and inquire what has happened to this temple. And I came to know that the temple has not opened almost for 15 years. Because the two communities of Jainas have made the temple together, because their number is very small in the village. No single community was capable of making the temple. Otherwise, they make their temple separate. But they agreed to make one temple and also agreed about the ownership of Mahavira, the statue inside the temple, that from morning till 12, one sect will worship. From 12 to the sunset, another sect will worship. First, those people will worship who believe in closed eyes, because a marble statue, either you can make it with open eyes or you can make it with closed eyes. It is not a Japanese doll that you lie it down and it closes its eyes. You make it sit and it opens its eyes. A marble statue is very difficult. So the statue is made with closed eyes. Up to 12, the first sect worships. After 12, the second sect places 2 open eyes, just made with paper, put on the marble statue, then it becomes their Mahavira. And once in a while, there was always fights happening, because somebody from the first sect will go on worshipping after 12, then the second sect will come in and push him out, and he will shout that you are disturbing my worship, and worship cannot be done according to the clock. And you can wait for a few minutes, but why they should wait? The agreement is exactly at 12, you should be out. And the first sect people are worshipping, and the second sect people are putting their false eyes on Mahavira. And they will start fighting and boxing with each other. And it is a non-violent religion. It believes in non-violence. And one day the things went too far that there was bloodshed. People brought their staffs and start hitting at each other's head. The police came, and the police took them all into custody, and they locked the temple until the court decides. The lock cannot be opened. But fearful that the other sect may break the lock, the first sect also brought another bigger lock. The second sect brought even more bigger lock. So 3 locks are on it, and the court has not been able to decide yet. Because how to decide whether Mahavira used to meditate with open eyes or closed eyes? I said to my chauffeur that if you know the magistrate, you take me to him. He said, but why you are getting unnecessarily involved? I always see you unnecessarily getting involved in things, unpopular causes, and you will jump into them. We should go where we are going. I said, you don't bother, you just go to the magistrate. And I reached the magistrate and I asked, I have come to help you because you have not been able to decide how Mahavira meditated. He said, you can help me? I said, certainly. Nobody else can help you. He said, then just tell me. I said, he always blinked. See, you cannot keep your eyes open continuously. Neither you can keep your eyes continuously closed. You have to blink. That keeps your eyes fresh. Blinking is a natural process. It is just like the wiper on the windshield of your car. Keep your wiper moving. Your ears close and open. They go on keeping them fresh, removing all dust. So, Bimal, both are good. Sometimes meditate with open eyes, sometimes meditate with closed eyes, but never forget blinking. Okay, Guru?
Yes, Bhagavan.